Hey everyone, this is Anna here. In this video, I wanted to talk about sculpting and my upcoming workshop at the end of next month, March 28th and 29th. And I will have another one also in May, and you can check out my links here in YouTube and on my website, annasclayhouse.com. So I did say that you do have to have some knowledge of clay. And by that, what I mean is to know some of the properties of clay so that I don't have to like explain all, how clay dries and just the basic things about clay. If you have done a little bit of work with clay, you're good to go, because the rest, I will show you everything during the class. You don't have to be a wheel thrower. You can be a hand builder. If you have any experience, joining things together, that sort of thing is what I meant. I welcome everyone that if you just know a little bit about clay, that even if you're just a beginner, you're welcome to take my workshop. So with this video, I came in here to give you some tips, talk a little bit about even things that you can do at home if you want to start sculpting, the things that are going to be very helpful for you. So the first thing when you want to sculpt, let's say a chameleon in this case, because those are some of the projects we'll be covering during the class. The chameleon will be the last one because it's a little bit more complex. The first ones will be frogs and birds on the first day. So it's a 2 days hands-on workshop. On the first day you do frogs and birds. The second day we'll be doing the chameleon because it's very detailed, and I will be doing everything the way I do it. And that doesn't mean that you're going to be doing that later on. You can kind of modify the techniques that I will show you to become your own. So the first thing that I tell people for sculpting is you have to look at a picture, and it helps to also look at a video, do a lot of studying of the anatomy of whatever creature you're gonna do. Study in 3D, so you have that mental vision of what it looks like. When you look at a flat picture like this, you don't quite know how thick are they, how is this like puffy, are they like skinnier on top here? So all those things you have to start studying to be able to do it, the sculpting at home. So I've done a lot of that, before, because you tend to, the more you make something, you get really good at that certain thing. So it's like with anything, right? Any technique. I will be showing you 4 different techniques that you can sculpt, because all my pieces are hollow because of the weight, and we'll go over that during the class. But I will show you all 4 techniques so that at home you can choose, the technique that you like the best to continue doing it. So when you look, like I said, you study first the anatomy of the creature that you're going to be doing. In this case, the panther chameleon. You have to do close-ups, like videos or pictures, and start doing close-ups to really see, what goes on here on his head. It's very intricate how the details that is in here. And unless you really study on a video, you wouldn't know just by looking at the 2D picture or the flat picture. So then the other thing you do is you see the whole picture here, but you have to deconstruct it. Almost like if you're going to disassemble something, let's say a furniture. You take all the drawers out, and then you have to put it together again. So you put all the parts together. So same thing here. I was gonna say Lego, but it's not quite Lego, but you see something and you see how many parts can I make this in how many pieces. So the body, it's by itself without the tail is one piece, then the head is another piece, then arms and legs and the tail. So those are the parts that we're going to divide into. So I start with the body. You don't have to, you can start with any part and then we assemble it together. So you make the head, everything is hollow. So that is the kind of thing that you have to think about, is dividing your piece, your animal into parts that you can make, separate pieces and then assemble it all. When we're talking about a frog, most of the time I make my frogs, the head and body together, all as one. Unless it's something really big like a bullfrog, which I don't make it that often. I think I've done one, or a toad, a big toad. Usually I make the red-eye tree frogs, the tropical frogs that they're small, or the Amazon milk frog, they're a little bit squishy, a different body type. But those, like I said, I do all from a solid and then I carve out the insides to make it hollow. I did suggest for my students to buy really inexpensive tools. You don't need expensive tools. In fact, I have, these are just some of my tools here, and I keep on this caddy. This is like a makeup caddy thing, and I think it's great because it rotates, it's divided into 4, and I keep all my separate tools in here. But anyways, you don't need all those tools. The tools that I suggested from Amazon, and I will put the link here in this video. It's a set of wooden tools, very basic. $6, I believe it is, $6 to $7 or maybe less. So this set here is what I recommended. Then the set that a lot of you guys might already have, I've had these forever. They're just the metal the loop tools, like a wire loop. And as you can see here, they each have a different shape here at the end. Some are round. These are the basic tools that we use during the class. Again, these are probably $6 to $7 also, not that expensive. And believe it or not, I still use my tools that I've had, from way back. Main thing that I use a lot are my fingers, and you're gonna go through that too. A lot of times I get kind of lazy, I'm doing it and I'm joining something just using my fingers, and I forget that you have the tool right there. You can use your tool. Of course, the tools help you in places that your fingers cannot reach. If you're making small sculptures, you most likely are gonna be using more of your tools because you will need it. Some places you can't get it to with your fingers. So during the class, I will be giving you some patterns to cut from a slab. Something simple. I'm gonna cut it on a little better cardboard that you can take it home with you, so that you can use patterns. You can use a form that is wheel thrown or hand built, but that's just another form that I'm not even going to be doing here, because you don't need to be, like I said, you don't need to have experience on the wheel. I make sometimes the bigger sculptures, the main bodies. Let's say if I'm making a pair, the main body can be wheel thrown, but it can also be hand built. So another thing that I wanted to tell you is something that helps is having a little wooden roller like this, just for the moment when you're making something. Let's say I'm making a bird and then I need the wings, and I just get a little piece of clay and real quick, just make a small little slab. Or for leaves that we're gonna put later on after you attach your sculpture, we make small leaves to go on the branches and stuff. These are great just to, you know, at the moment you just get a little piece of clay and you make your little slab. I am going to be giving each student like slabs of clay, so you don't have to be using this, but at home it's very helpful to have something like this. I use mine all the time when I'm sculpting. Another thing is a little cheaper brush, soft bristle brush, because after you carve a little bit to make, I don't have it here, I will show you here in a second, to make the markings either on the bird, the feathers, and then you, after you carve, you can smooth things out with your brush. That's what I do, so you don't have anything sharp, but takes away all those little pieces of clay that get stuck while you're sculpting something. Another thing that I do suggest bringing for my class, and you can use it at home if you're doing it at home, this is not just for sculpting. This is a phone holder that holds your phone either in a vertical or portrait. You can lay it here, and what I usually do is I do my reference photo and I keep it on my phone, so you don't have to print. You know, color printing nowadays is expensive, so I don't do this that often. I will do for the class, I will do a set of these for the class, but at home you don't need to be printing things out. You can just put your phone here, set your display to never shut down, so you don't have to be constantly hitting your phone. And I keep looking at the picture on these. This is also very inexpensive from Amazon. If you have one of those things that is attached to your case on your phone, that works also. My daughter has one that is adjustable. You can adjust these. Mine is just a one position thing. It works, but they have tons of these on Amazon. I will put the link for this one that was cheap, but you don't have to use my links. It's just something for you to see what I use. And I highly suggest, this is something that even if you're painting, whatever work you're doing, you can use your reference photo and just look at it. Just keep your phone in front of you. And that's what I do. Another thing that is very important, and this might be the last thing here that I want to talk about, a few more. I keep Ziploc bags with clay. As you know, I move around the house. Sometimes I'm even watching TV and making some small sculptures. So it helps to keep some clay on a Ziploc bag with you. A little piece of wood for you to keep your pieces, or even use your roller in here, you know, to make small slabs of clay and then cut your leaves or whatever. Also, I forgot to mention the X-Acto knife and a little wire tool like this for scoring. These are the things that I have it on my material list for my students to get. And those are just very basic tools. You're going to be using that for other things anyways. So these are the ones that I recommend. So pretty much not that many tools that you're going to need. I'm just giving you some tips for continue working at home, like a little piece of wood, or even your bat, you know, if you don't have something. Whenever I do any projects here around the house, if I'm using wood, I always save like scraps for that reason, because I use these. So the last thing I wanted to show is, last but not least, I have to be careful here so I don't drop some of my pieces that I've been sculpting here. So you see my bird, you see my chameleon in there. As I said, deconstructed, doesn't have the tail or the legs. I have a frog in there. Let me see if I can show you the frog. He's in the middle, but you can see the bird in there. So this guy here is just a little tote that, or I don't know what you call these, those bins that they sell at Home Depot or anywhere, Walmart, Target, with a lid. And the reason why I like this one is that it has a little gasket, even though these things are not the best, that locks, sometimes they wear. You know, I have one that broke already here. But if you look at some that have a gasket, because this creates a seal on your bin, it creates that seal and then you can just close it. But this is a damp box. So what it is, all that is you use plaster, mix by the instructions there. I believe is P1 plaster. I bought mine from Blick Art Supply. I think you can find them really anywhere. Look for P1 plaster. So just mix it by the instructions and pour. All you do is you pour in here for about, this is about maybe an inch and a half thick. And then you let it dry. That's all it takes. So when you use it, you spray water, or I can just go on the faucet, fill it up with water, and then you can just see that thing just absorbed by the plaster. And then I just dump the excess and let it soak in the water, and then I'm good to go. So your pieces will last days in here, days. Like, I don't know how long, because I haven't gone more than like a week. I usually make my pieces, put it in here, and then as I throw on the wheel and trim and everything, that gives me time to finish then the pieces, and then they're ready to be attached. So very handy. If you don't want to make one of these damp boxes, you can just store your little sculptures on anything else. Could be a Tupperware, could be a Ziploc bag, you know. But you might need to be spraying your pieces just so it doesn't dry out. And I think that's it. I'm looking forward for this workshop. You guys can email me anytime to ask me any questions. We are filled already for the one in March, but the one in May, I believe is May 2nd and 3rd. That one is open. I still have plenty of open spaces there. It just really takes practice to have that muscle memory to really kick in. I look at my sculptures now from back when I first started and now, and I can see a huge difference. So I know it's not like, it's just like learning on the wheel. You know, you don't learn from one day to the next. It takes, you know, a lot of practice, but you will learn all the techniques that will help you continue at home, and even making, if you like to make bigger scale sculptures. So I think my biggest ones that I've made so far is like maybe 11 inches, a parrot. But I am thinking about scaling it up more. And certainly some of the techniques we're going to talk about, you'll be able to make it. We're going to discuss the types of clay that you're going to be using. What we use now for the workshop is Kentucky Mud Works Iceman. Is a great clay, even to do hand building or smaller scale sculptures. But as you go up in size, I do suggest others. So all that we'll be talking during my class. So thanks again, guys. Thanks for watching, and I hope you can make it to my workshop. Bye-bye.